I'm Pandora. I'm from Burma or Myanmar. I'm a poet and fiction writer. I write mainly poetry, but I also write short stories and fictions. I conceive my work in Burmese language. Being a writer in Burma, we have been under a very tough regime for a long time. It is good as well as bad. It is good that the writers in Burma have to find a way to penetrate the tight censorship. We have to be more creative in terms of our writing, and we have to be more innovative in terms of techniques and style, and as well as we have to find new media in terms of technology. So that really is kind of blessing in disguise that encourage the writers and artists to be more creative. And the censorship at the time under the military regime is not only about the political sensibility, it is also about culture and religious things as well. So you can imagine how much we have to struggle at the time. And in terms of subject matter, we also have a lot to say because we didn't have much freedom of expression. So we were very eager to express about the ways of our life, our feelings, our ideas, our alternative voices. So I would say that this is the best thing to be a writer in Burma. I have stayed in Singapore for more than a decade, and most of my poems were written when I was in Singapore. The difference is that I can say that I have a very good combination of being a Burmese as well as being someone who resides in Singapore. Being a Burmese, the life I have gone through since childhood has a lot of interesting things, which maybe a normal Singaporean did not have an opportunity to encounter. Again, staying in Singapore, being a multicultural and metropolitan country, I had sufficient exposure to the world and dealing with many people from the rest of the world, which enriched my knowledge and my outlook towards the world. So the combination of my life, which I have gone through, and my new experiences in Singapore makes my poems more extensive and more representative of many people, not only about my country. So people often say that when they read my poems, of course they also have a sense of some cultural or even religious background of a Burmese, but they can also interpret in their own way to reflect their life and the world. And most of the things happening in the world can also be seen in my poems. That's what people say. The best thing about Burma right now is its unique culture and language and literature, despite the diverse environment. You know, geographically we are surrounded by the giant China and India, you know, which are very strong, you know, economically as well as culturally, and we have experience from those countries about different culture and different ways of life. Again, we are also connected to a country like Bangladesh, which hardly has commonality with us in terms of culture, religion, as well as the lifestyle, but we also trying to adapt with what we had. And like Laos, Thailand, who are our neighbors as well, we have a lot of similarities. And some people even thought that our language and Thai language are similar, but actually not the same. They are totally different. So despite some similarities in the culture, we are still unique. So I think that is the best thing about Burma. My writing process begins when I conceive an idea about what I would like to write, and also another idea about how I would like to express my idea. So then, of course, the process ends when my work is accomplished, is finished. I would say that I enjoy the literature making process. Throughout the process, like I would write down something, then I would review it, amend it. I would find the most appropriate usages, and sometimes I would even change the ideas along the way. So when I am obsessed with the process, it is even like meditation. It is even like, you know, exploring yourself when creating something. So I didn't even notice what is happening outside, you know, outside of my bubble, my environment. So I would say this is the happiest moment. I would say not happiest, maybe the most peaceful moment when I'm creating something. Regarding Iowa City, what surprised me most is the behavior of the people and their attitude. I find people in Iowa City very friendly, very peaceful, and very much like we are staying in a countryside, which is quite contrary to what we have seen in Hollywood movies. So we are also invited to the houses of the local people, and we are offered food very generously. So I like it. I like the peacefulness of this city, and that also surprised me. Then about America in general, so far I would say that I do not have enough experience to say something generally about America, but I have had a very high expectation of America when I came here, being the leading country of the world. And I also appreciate that the facilities and the infrastructure is perfect, even in the countryside, even in the farms which I have visited. They have electricity, they have water, they have everything, and it seems like people just take it for granted. To me, it's a surprise because we do not have it in my country. And I also eventually realized, of course, we couldn't expect America to be a paradise. It's not a heaven. It is also a country composed of people. And people, of course, they are human beings with blood and flesh. It reminds me of that kind of idea. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yes, I read fiction regularly, especially the poems. I always follow the Poetry Foundation website and see the updates about the new poems. And also read, because I write in Burmese, I also read my fellow poets' work. And nowadays, most of the work are available online. So I'm following this. I also regularly read the New Yorker. It is not easy, especially in the context of my country. Yeah, as you also know, we are in the transition period, leading to be more democratic, and at this time, the priority of the state might not be in the very fragile thing like art or literature or intellectual things. Maybe they will pay more attention to the economic development first. So at this point in time, it is quite tricky to say that we can get support from the state. You know, then at the same time, what is happening in the literary world is that it is difficult to survive for writers, you know, just on writing alone in my country. You know, it's not like other countries. When a novelist write a novel, and he will take time for about 2 or 3 years, but once he finishes his job, he can just sit down and take a rest, and he can rely on his income for a couple of years. But it doesn't happen in my country. So definitely the writers are in need. So whereas our own state may not have their facilities to support to the writing environment, what we can do maybe is get help from other developed countries to at least bring out the work of our local writers, and at least get the world know that we also have a rich literature, and also just come and see to my country, and experience our literature and other things, other aspects of the Myanmar. Yeah. To answer to this question, there are various dimensions. First, as an administrator in a government office, no matter whether it is intellectual property office or whatever office it is, the life of a bureaucrat has a lot to do with rules and regulations. It is very strict. You have room to be creative in your work, but it is not like our literary creation. So I have a lot of contradictions in my life. So in daytime, as an administrator, I have to follow rules and regulations and be strict, be specific, And at night when I come back home, I have to use my time to create my own work and to imagine, to make use of my imagination. So this is totally different. Then in the context of intellectual property, I gained a lot of knowledge working for intellectual property office, and I am also aware of the copyright issues and the importance of copyright in our daily life, not only in the literary world. And this is good and this is bad. Good is that, of course, I tend to respect copyright more than the ordinary citizens, the other citizens being an officer. And the other part is in creating a piece of art, sometimes it is not only about creation, it is also about uncreative writing sometimes. We use the existing data, the text, and everything, and we make in our own way to create a piece of art. So in this case, sometimes I'm not sure whether I should do it because it may have copyright implications. And it is worse because I'm a government officer and I'm responsible to respect copyright. So that makes me a lot of complications, and sometimes I am very indecisive, should I do that? Should I do that? That kind of thing. So I also have to say that it is not a straightforward answer. It has a lot of interesting things happening in my life. I think for most of the poets in Myanmar, we learn from our senior poets about the history of art and the evolution of our literature. So most of us know in one way or another, and I'm also one of them, of course. And in terms of participation, initially I wrote online because I am staying abroad, and also because of the tight censorship, also because I am not very familiar with the imprint media. But eventually, I sent my work to the local magazines and they published them. Then my literary journey was very, very fast to reach this stage. So I have to make my time, I have to use my time very efficiently. So for my first book, which is published locally, I didn't publish my own collection first. Instead, I'm trying to collect the work of female poets, and I would like to make it history. I would like to contribute to the literary world from this dimension. So this is what I tried. And since I went back to Myanmar last year, I also participated in the poetry workshop and the poetry reading events in Myanmar. And maybe in future also I will help them, I will help the literary environment in Myanmar as much as I can and as much as I'm capable of doing it. And so far what we need is, I think, a translation. Translation not into Burmese, but translation from the Burmese to the other languages. We do not have many translators so far. So I was also very saddened when I arrived at the Library of Iowa City that there are 5 million of books and we don't even have a single bookshelf for Burmese literature. So I think we are in need of translators, efficient translators. It has been published since August this year. I got this idea when I went back to Myanmar. I discussed about this book at home with my husband, and he also said, well, why don't you just publish, a kind of book which includes only female poets? And I thought it's a good idea. Then I also discussed with some senior poets in my country, like Seya Ling, and they are also very favorable to this idea. Then I contacted with a publisher who mainly published poetry books only, and I'm trying to connect to the female poets. And as my country is kind of big, and we have many cities, and those poets are staying in different parts of the country, so I also have some difficulty trying to reach out to them. But it took me about 1 year to have this collection, and I did some editing and proofreading and all that, and finally, just before coming to Iowa City, I managed to publish it. Yeah, and it is in Burmese, not bilingual yet. My father was very supportive of me for writing since I was very young, and he introduced me to O. Henry's book. He said, if you would like to write short stories, you have to study O. Henry, and like Gandhi Maupassant, Charles Dickens, and all that. So these are my earlier international writers who kind of influenced me in my writing. Then for the contemporary ones, for international writers, currently I'm reading the Japanese writer Haruki Murakami, because his thinking is very sophisticated and I like it. And for the poetry, of course, there are many poets who I like starting from like Sylvia Plath and Ted Hughes and Frank O'Hara, and of course I'm recently reading Charles Bernstein, his language poems. And locally, I also there are many local writers who influence me as well. In my father's time, there is a writer called Minjo and Myadante, who is also a translator. And for the contemporary writer, Ju, she is a kind of feminist writer. And for the poetry, we have Zia Ling, Aung Che, Mang Chonwe, and so on. And yeah. Then in IWP, I learned a lot, especially in the poetry field. Like Louis Bravo, I like his presentation. So I also had a chance to have a one-to-one conversation with him, and I learned from him what's your idea behind when you present your poetry in this manner. And also T.J. Dima, she is also a spoken language poet. I also have a chance to talk to her and learn her ideas about the spoken language poetry. When I conceive my poem in a foreign country, in Singapore, I have a mix of ideas in my mind, and also sometimes my thinking is even not in Burmese. Sometimes it's in English, but it's not complete English as well, so it's a kind of mixed. And it's good and it's also bad for me. Yeah, the good thing is that when I write something, my expectation is that this piece of work may be read by other parts of the world as well, not only my Burmese audience. And also even for Burmese audience, it is not only about the people inside the country, because we have many big amount of population who are migrated to other countries, so they will read it. And their life, their lifestyle, their understanding, their ideas may not be exactly the same as those people inside the country. So I aimed for that kind of the range of audience when I compose something. And I myself also, after staying away from the country for so many years, may not be a very pure Burmese way of thinking. May not be as pure as those staying inside the country. So I'm also kind of hybrid. It's a kind of mix. So in terms of ironing, I don't know how to explain. It is it's just like my style. It's not only in the poetry. I love to make joke of things. I see the things from trying to see things from the different point of view. And when I see kind of political things, I would like to make a joke of them. So this kind of thing. And also my studies may also have influenced my writing, because in my undergrad I studied English as my specialization. Then for my postgrad, for my master's degree, I studied public policy. Then I kind of get in touch with those political science subjects. So whatever I conceive in my formal studies, in my work, and whoever I encounter in my working environment, so they come out as a piece of work when I create, when I compose poem, when I compose short stories and other things. So that will make my work to be more colorful. That's what I think. International Burma Studies Conference is held in Northern Illinois University this year, and I have an opportunity to attend this. And I met many scholars. I can say that it's mainly about the scholars' work. It is not only about politics, it is also the studies of Burmese culture and linguistics and history and everything. Yeah, I met Burmese scholars who study about Burma, and I also met Western scholars and scholars from other parts of the world, but who studied Burmese. So it is also very interesting to have a chance to listen to their views about Burma. Yeah, and we have also got opportunities to exchange our ideas, to ask questions, and for this year, since the country has been opened to some extent, the conference also invited kind of government officials, like the advisors to the president. So it is a very interesting combination of the group, and we hear from different perspectives. There are some debates as well, but I think it is very good to be able to understand different points of view about Burma, because Burma is highly controversial in its sense. Nefonlat and we got to know one another in early 2007 as bloggers. So we just met online. We have never seen one another outside. Then we had September 2007 Saffron Revolution led by the Buddhist monks, and he was arrested after the revolution, and we were very surprised to hear that he will be charged, maybe for about 20 years imprisonment or so. Then we were waiting for the news, and other bloggers also kind of cooperated, and we put some posters, on the blogs and on Facebook, and that feel free Nefonlat, because we knew that he is a very good person, and he shouldn't be arrested for kind of like a criminal, but he was sentenced for 20 years imprisonment. So I wrote a couple of poems for him, and we were just hoping that he would be released before the 20 years imprisonment. And then we eventually heard that his sentence was reduced to 12 years, but 12 years is a lot. And only early this year, he was released after the change of the government. So only then I had a chance to meet him outside. Then for the IWP program, before I came here, when I got invitation letter, I didn't know that he was also invited for this program. But just a few days before coming to this program, I just realized that, he was also invited. So it's a kind of surprise. Yeah. Well, what is the life of a Burmese writer, and where is Burmese literature? That is the question I would very much like to answer. And I would like that people will pay attention to our literature, our culture, and other things as well, rather than the politics. I would like to invite to the people from the rest of the world outside Myanmar to come and see us and find the things from the other side of the coin. And I would also like the people to bring back the cultural literature and other beautiful things about Burma when they go back home, and also bring us to the outer part of the world, and give us opportunities to be able to display our work in the arena of the world. Thank you so much.